Thank you guys for having me here today, and thanks for having me inside, because it's really hot outside. But first I'd like to share my walk with Christ through FCA. So I grew up in a small town called Laurinburg, North Carolina, and went to a high school in 9th grade year named Scotland High School, and it's really in the middle of nowhere, but and Daryl Strawberry was coming to talk at a Fields of Faith FCA event my 9th grade year. I would say it was around November, and me being a huge baseball guy, I was like, that's awesome. Daryl Strawberry's coming. I don't know if you guys know, but he's a really, really good baseball player. So I was like, of course I'll go listen to him speak. So me and my buddies went out there, and it felt like everybody in Scotland County was there that night. But he gave his testimony, a very powerful speech of just overcoming a lot of things. And that night I decided to give my life to Christ in 9th grade year. Well, fast forward to my junior year of college, I'm now leading the FCA at ECU with a couple other athletes. That David Wall is actually the head FCA guy there at ECU. So FCA is a great organization that has allowed me to just connect with Christ a lot better through my walk with faith. But like I said, thank you guys for having me here today. 2 years ago, I had just finished playing my last season as a Fighting Scot in Scotland County. It was one of the things I dreamed of as a kid. I loved playing baseball with the kids that I grew up with. I'm still incredibly proud of some of the things that we accomplished. We won the conference tournament my freshman year. We won a share of the regular season title my senior year. Personally, I was named to the North Carolina All-State team the last 2 years of high school. I was the highest ranked shortstop by a perfect game in North Carolina for the class of 2022. It was heartbreaking for me the night we lost to East Wake in the first round of the playoffs my senior year. I cried after the game, but not because of me, but for my teammates. For a lot of them, that was their last game. They had been my teammates since I was 6 years old. I have loved baseball longer than I even have memories. I started hitting a ball before I could even walk. I grew up playing on every single field in Scotland County. I spent every day in the cages, in the weight room, and running a hill at JC Park. That place played a considerable role in helping me achieve my dream. I verbally committed to play baseball at East Carolina University as a freshman in high school. After graduating in June of 2022, I left to attend summer school with all the other incoming baseball players. It was more than everything I could ever imagine. However, my goal was nowhere near finished. I was there to play shortstop and help get the Pirates to Omaha. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." I was loving what I thought was God's plan for me. My life, to this point, had been mountaintop after mountaintop. Zach Agnos, the starting shortstop the year before I got there, was drafted while I was at summer school. I was like, I see you, God. He was making a way for me to play early, and a lot of the local media was saying just that. On the last weekend of summer school, several teammates and I decided to spend some time at one of our teammates' family river house in Bath, North Carolina. We went out on the river that Friday night and had a great time. I planned to get up Saturday morning and take one of my teammates back to Greenville to help an elderly couple move some stuff. However, they called him Saturday morning and told him that he was no longer needed. We decided to go back out on the river that day because, as 18-year-olds, that sounds awesome. I was the first one to ride the tube that day. Dixon Williams was on the tube with me. We both fell off the very first ride, then we got back on again. The driver was even more determined to throw us off the second ride. So Dixon fell off very quickly, skid across the water, and then the driver drove even more wildly. The tube then hit a wake and flew me way into the air. One thing about me is I'm terrified of heights, so I decided I'm just going to let go. After hitting the water hard, me and Dixon decided that we had had enough. I started swimming back to the boat. I was using the rope from the tube to get myself closer to the boat, And as I approached the boat, the kid who was driving the boat somehow put the boat in reverse, or it got knocked into reverse as I was just a few feet away from the boat. The propeller caught the rope, pulling me under into the propeller. The propeller then hit both of my legs, and I pushed away with my left hand, but it was also struck. Miles, the kid who was supposed to go back and help the elderly couple move some furniture, quickly realized I was severely hurt. He and Dixon lifted me into the boat very quickly. My friends then took off their shirts to tie tourniquets around my legs the best they could. 911 was called quickly as well. Our boat could no longer move due to the rope being caught in the propeller. My teammates then started waving down other boats to help. The first boat that approached us refused to help because of all the blood on the boat and that there were kids on their boat, and they was like, nah, we can't expose them to the scene, but here's a first aid kit. But my legs were far from needing a Band-Aid at that point, so they just threw the kit into the water. Luckily, a second boat approached us. On this boat was a nurse who calmly took control of the scene. She used some rope to tie tighter tourniquets. She helped transfer me to their boat, and they got me to the marina where there was an ambulance waiting for me. There, they put IVs in and started fluids at the marina. They quickly transferred me to the local hospital in Washington, where a helicopter was prepared to take me to ECU Health in Greenville. By this point, I was extremely close to dying. My blood pressure was extremely low, 60/30 to be exact. I had a moment where I was out of my body and I could see them operating on me in the helicopter. I knew that if I closed up my eyes, I would never wake up. The medical team on the helicopter gave me blood products to help keep me alive. Once I arrived in Greenville, they gave me more blood products before carrying me into surgery. The surgeons were finally able to stop the bleeding. They had operated on me daily or every other day for the first 10 days. They realized the propeller cut a major artery in my leg, but stopped 1 millimeter from the sciatic nerve in my leg. That would have led to me having an entire leg that was non-functional. They thought initially I would be okay with some extensive rehab and get back onto the field like I was beforehand. However, my right foot during this time was never able to move and became really cold and pale. After more surgeries and medications to help the blood flow increase to my foot didn't help, they told me I would have to have my right lower extremity amputated. In 12 days, my dream of playing collegiate baseball had turned into a nightmare. I quickly fell from my mountaintop into a very deep valley. It would have been easy for me to ask God about our plan, the one where I'm starting shortstop and doing what I thought was God's plan for me. Proverbs chapter 19, verse 21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." So it became our prayer and desire to use me to reveal His plan for my life. Was this easy for me? Not at all. I know that I had spent so much time and energy in baseball. I often put it before everything and anything. Trying to understand His purpose takes a whole lot of faith. My story is a story of many miracles and a lot of faith. The miracle started long before the blades hit my legs. Miles, the guys who jumped in to pull me into the boat and to tie tourniquets around my legs, wasn't even supposed to come to bat. It was a last-minute decision for him to do so after we persuaded him for like 20 minutes. He was from Florida and had lost a friend in a boating accident, so he knew immediately what to do. The nurse who stopped only did so because the first boat refused to stop and help. She was only in that spot because one of the couples on the boat had gotten into an argument about, "Hey, we're done for today, can you just take me back to the marina?" Those two people's presence and quick response saved my life. All the hours I had spent in the gym previously made me in excellent physical condition. The doctor stated that saved my life as well. The propeller stopped 1 millimeter from my sciatic nerve. If it would have cut that nerve, I would have lost my entire leg, if not my life. Miracle after miracle. You see, God isn't just a miracle worker in the Bible. The same God who parted the waters for Moses to go through is the same God who stopped that propeller and put those people there in that moment. It didn't just stop there. After lots of surgeries, including my amputation below the knee, the doctors told us that my leg would have to be amputated above the knee. 2 different surgeons on 3 different occasions told my parents that the muscles and the bone in my knee were completely dead. They were letting my upper leg heal enough in order to create a flap. Well, they didn't know that God was operating. Many people were praying for my knee to be saved. Ezekiel was asked in Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 3, "Son of man, can these bones live?" In which Ezekiel responds, "Sovereign Lord, you alone know." That he did. God is Jehovah Rapha, the God who heals. Blood came back to the muscles and my bones, and my knee was completely saved. You see, without a knee, my mobility would have been extremely limited and definitely the end of my playing career. God never breaks his promise. That is where my faith lies. When I was laying in the hospital bed after my leg was amputated, I honestly thought I had played my last game. I even said this out loud to my mom one night in the hospital that no amputee has ever played Division I baseball with a prosthetic leg. Without question or hesitation, she said, "Well, why not you? There always has to be a first." And that was all I needed. Matthew chapter 17, verses 20 through 21 say, "For truly I tell you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you would say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you." She had faith that God was going to move a mountain, and she planted that seed in me. They cut off my leg, but it didn't cut out my heart or my drive. I had trained my whole entire life to play baseball. It is my dream. But a dream without the word is just that, a dream. I had to have a plan. I started to build a team around me, and to be a part of it, you had to believe in my faith and a whole lot of miracles. My plan isn't about just becoming a Division I baseball player anymore, going to the major leagues. It's about doing what many say is the impossible. It's to show people that whatever you're going through is part of God's plan, that in his timing, he is going to make it happen if it is for you. We are all going through something. Mine was losing a leg. For many, it's something you can't even see. A broken marriage, depression, a family member being diagnosed with cancer. Psalms chapter 23, verse 4 is often quoted, and people say passionately, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil." We feel ourselves closest to God in the valley, and it is where we draw closer to him. Also in Psalms chapter 23, he is with you in the green pastures and beside quiet waters. In all situations, God is with us. It is what gives me comfort, knowing that he is here for me. Knowing that he loves me and has chosen me to do things to show his miraculous way to the world is my peace. So, what am I doing now? I'm living my dream. I got my first prosthetic at the end of 2022, but it didn't fit very well at all. However, God had already had a plan in place. My mom started updating people about my accident on Facebook pretty early on, just so people back home would know what was going on and rumors wouldn't spread. And her posts started getting shared and picked up pretty quickly by a lot of websites, newspapers, and news stations. There were 2 men named Bob Babbitt and Eric Cochran who picked up my story throughout her post. They reached out to her, knowing for me to live my dream, I would need the right people, the right equipment, and a right mindset. Bob runs a foundation called the Challenge Athletes Foundation, and Eric, a filmmaker, has made a movie on a high schooler who has played baseball and was born with parts of all 4 limbs amputated. They wanted to put me with a prosthetist who works with athletes. They gave me a grant for a prosthetic that was more useful for running and playing baseball. CAF has played a big part in my recovery on and off the field. They surprised me by setting it up so that I could throw out the first pitch at a Houston Astros game. I have been to their running clinics to run with many Paralympians. They have flown me out to New York twice. The first time, I went to be interviewed by the MLB Network. I was their speaker the second time for their big gala in the Hamptons. Eric is constantly coming to Greenville to shoot video of me and my recovery to produce a documentary at some point. They are two people continually looking for people who use tragedy for good. God placed them in my life, not by chance. He placed them in my life so that I would have a platform to inspire others and to show them that what was meant for bad, that God would God turn to good. I was cleared last August by the team physician to rejoin the team. I started full participation in practice with the team in the fall. I didn't play in the fall exhibition games due to me still working on some movements that have really increased over the past year. I had some at-bats in practice where I saw live pitching for the first time since May of 2022. I had my exit meeting before Christmas with Coach Godwin, in which he told me I would be on the 40-man roster that spring. On February 16th, I became one of the first Division I players to ever play with a prosthetic leg. I worked out 6 to 7 days a week in the weight room, hitting daily and running with a trainer, hoping to increase my role this season. After the season, I joined the New Bern Southpaws in a summer collegiate league where I played baseball almost every single day. My plan for 2024 outside of baseball is to start a foundation to help the disadvantaged, injured people get back into the game of life. I hope to provide resources to those who think there is no hope at all. I am still the same Parker who grew up in little old Laurinburg. I still love God, my family, my friends, and the game of baseball. People have asked me repeatedly, are you mad that God allowed this to happen to you? They remind me of all the time I spent to get a scholarship for me to end up losing my leg. But God didn't allow this to happen to me, but He allowed it to happen for me. A quote that I love is, what is for me would not pass me by. I knew if playing baseball was for me, it would happen. Isaiah chapter 60, verse 22 says, at the right time, God will make it happen. It has allowed me to prioritize my life. I want to make sure that I always put God first. God's plans for me are so much bigger than a game of baseball. He lets me use my abilities to play the game to open doors not only for me, but for others. I have met kids who are amputees who love the game of baseball. I'm not just playing for myself anymore, but for other amputee baseball players I've met who dream of playing at the collegiate level. I now have the opportunity to go and speak and encourage people going through moments like I went through and just show them that there is hope. I am there to show them that your life is just getting started. August 4th, 2022 was the day that my leg was amputated. Coincidentally, that was the day a preacher back home arranged a prayer vigil for me at Scotland High School. I was told that 9 people that night were saved. That's God using moments to put us closer to Him. Romans chapter 8, verse 18 says, for I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us. God used me to reveal His glory. I ask you, if you don't have a relationship with Christ, start one. Don't wait. He wants to use you too. Psalms chapter 34, verse 10 says, those who seek God will lack no good thing. He is just waiting for you to seek Him. He is already there. Thank you guys for having me here today, and God bless.